Hi folks, Van Prepper here with another SAFE Act and gun news update. I'm going to start this off by saying keep me in your prayers if you're a praying person, because I am going into the belly of the beast tomorrow evening, and I'll be there Tuesday into New York City. And if you know me and you watch my videos and you know what I think of big government and New York City in particular and its effect on New York State, the state that I live in, the state that I have lived in my whole life, you know that there's probably nowhere else I would less want to be than New York City. But my wife has to go there for work, and I don't want her to go by herself. So I'm going there because I love my wife very much, and I love my wife a lot more than I hate New York City. So on to the news. First, this is not gun related, but I want to give you this. Uh, we all saw Andrew Cuomo's quote that extreme conservatives, that's anybody that disagrees with Andrew Cuomo really is an extreme conservative to him. But one of the requirements to put on there is if you're opposed to the SAFE Act, you're an extreme conservative. You don't belong in this state. Well, he means business, because he has unleashed the Attorney General's office and the State Taxation Board and a bunch of other people that have been harassing and really going after James O'Keefe, who is a conservative activist. He's famous for a few different things that he did, but I think he got Mary Landrieu a while back. I'm pretty sure. I could be wrong about that. But he's a guy who goes around and exposes liberal bias and liberal fraud and things like that. But they are going. The state agencies are trying to going over everything they've got with a fine-tooth comb, trying to get rid of the guy. Sean Hannity, conservative talk show host, has said he's probably going to leave the state. He's done with it. He's done with being harassed and done with being treated like a second or third class citizen. Also, on a national scale, everybody knows Gary Sinise. He's in one of these CSIs, but he was also in, made his debut, I think, in Forrest Gump. Gary Sinise he's a conservative in Hollywood, which is a rarity, and he runs a group that helps wounded soldiers, and his group has been being targeted by the IRS and been attacked by some federal groups. And this is a prime example of the government. This is absolutely a violation of your First Amendment rights, of their First Amendment rights, when the government is using a government agency to silence or intimidate political opponents. That is absolutely taking away your freedom of speech and expression, when the government inherently is coming to try to threaten you out of these things. So on to the news. We have Civitas Media is building a nationwide database, or was going to build a nationwide database of CCW holders. Now, they have, since the email came out, they have claimed that that was an idea they had and they've scrapped it. Nonsense. Believe me, and if it's not them, somebody else will do it. Here in my county, they have already, one of the newspapers has put in a request to get CCW holders' names and addresses, and our county sheriff, to his credit, has said, I'm not going to do that. I'm not releasing that information. So thumbs up to my county sheriff for doing that. I really appreciate that, for standing up for my rights to privacy. Secondly, Ruger and Smith & Wesson both going to stop selling some kinds of pistols, certain types of pistols in California. I'm sure at some point that's going to come to New York, based on the just the stringent and smothering gun control laws that they have there, specifically the micro-stamping laws in California, which, by the way, somebody's already talking about proposing here for New York State. Those things put such an undue cost into doing business and passed on to the consumer that it is an absolute infringement on your Second Amendment rights. So eventually, I'm going to guess that Smith & Wesson and Ruger are going to have to, if those laws don't get overturned, they're just going to leave California altogether and not do business there, and eventually they'll leave New York State and any state that shows very clearly by their actions and by the laws they make that they don't want them there. Saratoga Springs supervisors have said they have joined the growing list of counties and groups in New York State that they have already called for the repeal of the SAFE Act, and they have now told New York State in no uncertain terms, do not use our county logo, our county seal on your New York SAFE Act paperwork, because we are opposed to the SAFE Act. All across the state, counties are doing that. They're telling New York State and threatening to sue New York State, not to use their county seal because it appears that it's an endorsement of the SAFE Act when in fact they're opposed to the SAFE Act. The final thing I have for you, hilarious news. We saw those videos on the news of the Connecticut citizens who were lined up, hundreds deep to go and register their firearms and register their what would now be considered illegal magazines. And they were, it was talked, look at these people are peacefully doing it. They're not causing a big stir. Well, hundreds deep in a line doesn't mean much when you estimate that you've got 50,000 or 100,000 or however many, people that own these guns, or much more than that, I think, in Connecticut. At any rate, they have about a 4% of what they estimated is actually registered. And so Connecticut lawmakers are now panicked because they realize nobody did what they wanted them to do. And they're talking about giving them an amnesty. Good luck with that. Nobody's going to comply with this stupid rule any more than they are in New York State. So, New York State hasn't even released numbers mercifully for themselves because the numbers are going to be so pitifully low because people are not going to comply. People are not going to register what absolutely should be a perfectly legal item to have. Okay? If you want to pass unconstitutional laws, pass them. That doesn't mean people have to respond to those and acknowledge those. I just pretend the SAFE Act doesn't even exist because it's garbage. Absolute garbage from top to bottom. There's no part of that law that doesn't suck. So I am Van Prepper. This was a quick SAFE Act and gun news update. I hope you guys are having an awesome day. Keep me in your prayers as I'm going to New York City. Happy shooting, guys.